In this section, 9-2, we're going to talk about finding employees' net pay. So net pay is when you take your gross pay and you subtract off your deductions. And then after you subtract off your deductions, what's left is your net pay. So the three major deductions that we're going to talk about in this lesson is Social Security, Medicare, and the FIT, which is the federal income tax. Now, in this problem, it talks about a woman named Janet who has earned so far this year $127,200, which is 48 weeks of work, and her weekly pay is $2,650. Also, something that I didn't mention in this example that we're going to need to know is that she claims 2 allowances. Actually, let me put it down here. Okay, we're going to need that later for the federal income tax. So let's look at the Social Security first. And we have something called the Federal Insurance Contribution Act, which is sometimes called FICA, F-I-C-A, for the letters, the abbreviation for the Federal Insurance Contribution Act. And this funds the Social Security program. And when you break that down, the program also includes the old age and disabilities, Medicare, survivor benefits, and some other things. And the FICA tax, it requires separate reporting for the Social Security and Medicare. So we're going to figure out what those values are separately. Now for Social Security, it's going to be 6.2% up to earnings of $128,400. So that's our base. And then for Medicare, it's a rate of 1.45%, but this has no base. All right, now let's look at the Social Security first. The problem says that up to this point, she's earned $127,200. So we have to figure out how much left of the base she has. So if I take $128,400 and I subtract what she's earned so far, which is the $127,200, that's going to give me what's left of my base, which is $1,200. And since she's getting paid this week for $2,650, that $1,200 is covered in her weekly salary. So what that means is I'm going to take 6.2% of what's left of her base to figure out what she owes for Social Security. So if I want to take 6.2% of $1,200, I need to change this to a decimal. So that's going to be 0.062 of means to multiply, and then I'm going to take $1,200. When I take 0.062 times $1,200, that's going to give me $74.40. So this is something we're going to need to know later. This is what she's going to pay out for Social Security in this paycheck. Now, since she's covered all of her base after this paycheck, when she pays her next paycheck, then she's not going to have to pay into her Social Security anymore for the year. Now for Medicare, there is no base, so you're always just going to pay 1.45% of whatever your gross pay is. Since Janet's gross pay for this week is $2,650, I'm just going to take that and multiply by 0.0145 to get the 1.45% of her gross pay. When we do that, we get $38.43. So this is what she has to pay for Medicare this week out of her paycheck. Now, for the FIT, we're going to need some tables in your handbook. We're going to need the table that says payroll period that looks like this. And then I couldn't fit it on the same page, so I scrolled down and I added, this is the other table that we're going to need. At the top it says percentage method tables for income tax withholdings. So make sure you have your student handbook ready because we're going to need those. Now, the first thing you're going to do is, because she claims 2 allowances, and we know that she is getting paid weekly. That's the important thing for this. Weekly and how many she claims. So we can look that up on this chart. Since she's getting paid weekly, I'm going to come across and see that one allowance is $79.80. So if she claims 2, I need to take $79.80 and multiply by 2. That's going to give me $159.60. So this is her allowance. Then what we need to do is we need to take her gross pay, which was the $2,650, and subtract her allowance, which was the $159.60. And that's going to give us $2,490.40. Once we figure out how much she can knock off based on her allowances, this is what we're going to use to look up on the second chart. Which is down below. So I'm going to look down here. Now you can see that there are rows. The first row says Table 1 and it's weekly. Then the next row, that's where it says right here. Then the next row says Table 2, bi-weekly. Table 3, semi-annually. So you have to know how she's getting paid. In this case, Janet's getting paid weekly. So we're going to look at this first row. Then within this first row, we have on the left side whether she's single, and then on the right side whether she's married. That says it right here, single or married. I just highlighted it in red. Since she's married, I'm going to look in the first row underneath married, and I'm going to look at that number that I just found, which is the $2,490.40. That's going to fall right here. It's going to fall between 1,711 and between 3,395. That's where that number falls. It's between those two values. See, it says over, but not over. So it's between those two numbers. That tells me how I'm going to pay my taxes. So when I look at that row, it tells me that I'm going to pay taxes $171.36 plus 22% of anything that's over 1,711. So the way we're going to set that up is we're going to say our FIT is going to be $171.36 plus 22% of anything over that 1,711 number. So when I take 22% of something, I have to multiply, and I have to make sure that 22% is as a decimal. So I'm going to put 0.22 times, and then inside here, I'm going to put what's left over from that 1,711 number. So off to the side, I'm going to do some scratch work. I'm going to say 2490.40. That's the number that we used for the chart. And I want to see what's left over when I subtract 1711.00. When I subtract that, I'm going to get 779.40. So this is the amount that's over the 1,711 amount. So this is what I need to take the 22% of. So I'm going to put that in here. So now I'm going to pay $171.36 plus the 22% of whatever is over that 1711 number, which we found to be $779.40. Now, when I put that in on the calculator, I'm going to find that that gives me a total of $342.83. So this is what we're going to owe for our federal income tax. Now, at this point, if there was given information about the state income tax as well, we would want to take it off. So, for example, it might say your state income tax is 5%. If it says that, you want to make sure you make that deduction as well. So you would take 5% of whatever your gross pay is. And that would also be considered a deduction. But nothing is mentioned in this problem about that, so we're going to leave it alone. So now I'm going to take my gross pay, which was $2,650, and I'm going to subtract off all my deductions. So I had my Social Security, which was $74.40. I had my Medicare, which was $38.43. And then I found that my federal income tax was $342.83. When I subtract all of my deductions, here I'll label them. This is Social Security, this is Medicare, and then this is your FIT. When you subtract all of that off, let's see what we get. 2650 minus 74.40 minus 38.43 minus 342.83. Okay, I'm going to get $2,194.34. So this is the net pay. This is the gross pay. So you take the gross pay, take off all your deductions, and then what you're left with is what you're actually going to see in your bank account. Okay, next example. Let's scroll down because I didn't have room to put that on one page. We're going to find the Social Security taxes, Medicare taxes, and FIT for Joy Royce. So it gives information that she has a monthly salary. She's single and she claims 1. So this is information that we're going to need for our FIT. All right, so first, let's find her Social Security. So it says in the problem that her earnings so far is $115,000. So we want to see what's left of the base after we subtract it off. So for Social Security, the base is $128,400. If we subtract off her $115,000, what's left is $13,400. Now, in this paycheck, she's getting paid $9,500. So that $9,500 is now going to come off of this, what's left of her base. So she's going to have to pay $9,500, the 6.2% on that amount, and then there's still going to be a little bit of base left over for her to pay what's left in her next paycheck. But as of right now, she's going to pay on a base of $9,500 for this paycheck. What's left for her base is $13,400. So for her next paycheck, I'll just make a note here. If I take what her base is right now, and then she's going to pay on a base of $9,500 for this paycheck, and that means for next paycheck, let's see. Whoops, hold on. I typed that in wrong. 13400 minus 9400. What's left is for the next paycheck, this will be her base. And it looks like her monthly salary is around $9,000, so she should pay it off on for her next paycheck. So she needs to pay $9,500 times 0.062 for her Social Security. 62% of her paycheck. When you do that, you're going to get $589. So this is what she's going to pay for her Social Security. Let me highlight it. And then next time, if she gets the same paycheck again, she's going to have to pay it off. That's going to be the last of her base. Okay, now for her Medicare, there's no base to worry about there, so you're just going to take her gross pay, which is $9,500, and multiply it by the 0.0145, because you're taking 1.45% of 9,500, so you got to change it to a decimal. When you multiply that, you're going to get $137.75. So this is what she needs to pay for her Medicare. Whoops. The last thing we need to find is her FIT. To find her federal income tax, we're going to look at the chart. She's paid monthly here, so I'm going to scroll up to our first chart. She's paid monthly, so for this one, I'm going to look at the monthly paycheck, and each allowance is going to be $345.80. Scroll back down. Sorry if I'm making you dizzy. She claims one allowance, so I'm going to take $345.80 times 1, which is just $345.80. So this is her allowance. So we're going to knock that off of her gross pay. So her gross pay is $9,500 for the month. When we subtract off the $345.80, that's going to give us $9,154.20. So this is what we're going to use to look up on the table. I'm going to scroll back up to the second table. Let me erase what we have here from the last example so we can find it easier. Now in this problem, it says she's single and she claims one. So I'm going to go down to where it says she is paid monthly. She's single, so I'm going to look at this column. And now the value that we found, that $9,154.20, I'm going to look to see where it falls here. And it falls between, here it is right here. It falls between $7,183 and $13,433. So when I look across, what we're going to pay is $1,174.12 plus 24% of anything over that 7,183 number. So when you're looking at that on the chart, that will tell us how we're going to get taxed. So I'm going to write that down. Our FIT is going to be 1,700 and, whoops, I wrote that down wrong. Hold on. $1,174.12 plus 24% of anything over, let's see, $7,183. So when I set this up, this, no matter what, we have to pay. And then I'm going to do 24%. I'm going to add that to 24%, so I have to write it as a decimal, of anything over that 7183 number. So I'm going to take the value that we used for the table, which is this right here, 9154.20, and I'm going to subtract off this number, 7183, to see how much is over 7183. When I do that, I'm going to get $1,971.20. So that's what we're going to take the 24% of. So I'm going to put that in here. So this is what I'm going to put in on my calculator to find the federal income tax. And so my final answer, when I multiply and add that together, I'm going to get $1,554.20 $647.20. Now, the problem didn't ask us to find the net pay, but if we want to, just to practice, to find the net pay, I just take her gross pay, which is the $9,500, and I subtract off all the deductions. So we have the Social Security, which was $589. Then we have the Medicare, which was $137.75. And then we're going to subtract off the federal income tax that we just had, which was the $1,647.21. And when I subtract all that from the gross pay, I get $7,126.04. So that would be the net pay if we were asked. So this is the gross. I'll label it. The $9,500 is the gross. This is the Social Security. This was the Medicare. And then this number here was the federal income tax. And then again, if the problem says something about state taxes with the percentage, you want to make sure you include that in your deductions.